Earlier this year, several U.S. media outlets suggested that Washington might suspend the supply of engines for China's C919 passenger jet if political circumstances required. The C919 is a medium-haul trunk aircraft that China spent 17 years developing. Since entering commercial operation in May 2023, it has safely carried more than 1 million passengers and accumulated over 28,000 hours of flight. If progress continues, the C919, like Boeing and Airbus models, could soon connect destinations across the globe. Yet the heart of an aircraft is its engine. If the U.S. truly cut off supply, China's large civil aircraft program could face serious disruption and even a production freeze within 3 years. At this critical juncture, Russia voiced its willingness to help. Sergei Chemezov, general director of the Russian State Technology Corporation, told Sputnik News that if China needs, Russia is ready to provide different types of aircraft engines, including the PD-14. This raises two key questions. Why would the U.S. move to block China's C919 engine supply, and can Russia's promise really materialize? Or is it just political rhetoric? South of Paris lies the Melun-Villeroche Industrial Zone, long regarded as a heartland of the global aviation industry. Within it stands the Safran Aircraft Engines Villeroche plant, the company's core base and an essential center for developing and producing CFM international engines. Covering more than 100 hectares, larger than 140 football fields, the facility employs over 5,000 people, including engineers, assembly workers, supply chain managers, and service teams. Together, they form a tightly integrated and highly efficient industrial chain for modern aircraft engine production. Thanks to this combination of hardware, workforce, and know-how, Villeroche plays a central role in Safran's global capacity to deliver engines at scale. Today, CFM's LEAP series dominates the global single-aisle jetliner market, powering well over 70% of new deliveries in this category. Naturally, the C919 is no exception. Since 2018, COMAC has ordered 760 LEAP, 1C engines, enough for roughly 380 aircraft. So far, around 18 C919s have entered service, meaning more than 360 LEAP, 1C engines are still awaiting delivery. To strengthen ties, Safran indicated last year that if the C919 enters true mass production, it does not rule out establishing a LEAP, 1C assembly capability in China. In fact, Safran has already set up a propulsion integration center in Tianjin to deliver LEAP, 1A nacelle and propulsion systems for Airbus A320 aircraft assembled locally, showing that broader cooperation is technically and logistically possible. But here lies the risk. CFM International is a joint venture, with France's Safran and America's GE Aerospace each holding 50%. If Washington decides to impose sanctions, it effectively has veto power over engine deliveries for the C919. This is not merely a theoretical concern. By May this year, the U.S. Department of Commerce had already signaled that it might suspend export licenses for certain American suppliers to COMAC. Soon afterward, some long-term U.S. partners of COMAC faced denials when applying for new export licenses. CFM International, the LEAP, 1C supplier, was among those caught in the dragnet. The potential impact extends well beyond engines. The C919 also incorporates multiple U.S.-made systems. Avionics jointly developed by AVIC and GE, communication and navigation equipment from Collins Aerospace, hydraulic flight control systems from Parker Hannifin, an auxiliary power unit from Honeywell, and landing gear hydraulics also from Parker Aerospace. Every one of these components is mission-critical. Although Washington has not specified exactly which export licenses were halted, one fact is certain. If engines or other major systems were suddenly cut off, the C919's delivery schedule would be severely disrupted. Some U.S. media even forecast that a complete halt in LEAP, 1C supplies could force COMAC to cease C919 production within 3 years. Why would the U.S. risk alienating such a large customer? The deeper motivation lies in rare earths. These elements have become indispensable to the 21st century economy, powering smartphones, electric vehicles, wind turbines, and advanced military equipment. In this strategic supply chain, China holds dominant ground. Although China accounts for about 40% of global rare earth reserves, it controls nearly 90% of refining capacity and related technologies. For heavy rare earths, China is essentially the only nation with full separation and purification capabilities. This leaves the U.S. in a vulnerable position. Over 70% of its rare earth imports come from China, and its defense sector is particularly dependent on Chinese heavy rare earths. In recent years, as a countermeasure to Western trade restrictions, Beijing has tightened its rare earth export rules. Just 1 month before Washington floated the idea of cutting C919 engine exports, China raised requirements again. Exporters must apply for licenses and disclose end-use details and customer information. Civilian uses such as automotive and electronics still have some leeway, but materials potentially linked to military use now face extremely strict scrutiny. The first to feel the pain was America's own military-industrial complex. U.S. defense contractors scrambled to secure alternative supplies outside China, but progress proved slow and difficult. A Pentagon supplier of drone components revealed that despite multiple rounds of overseas negotiations, no reliable deals were struck. As a result, key orders were delayed by months. Meanwhile, prices surged. By mid-June, materials for magnetic components had increased several times compared to spring levels. Although prices of specific metals, like samarium, did rise sharply, claims of a 60-fold increase are exaggerations. Still, the pressure on costs was real and disruptive. Confronted with this reality, Washington adjusted its stance. In early July, the U.S. Department of Commerce approved GE Aerospace to resume deliveries of jet engines to COMAC. Other U.S. suppliers also gradually restarted component shipments. Yet few observers doubt that such approvals are tactical, temporary, and subject to reversal. For U.S. aerospace suppliers, cutting off the Chinese market risks breaching contracts, losing billions in revenue, and ceding ground in the world's fastest-growing aviation market. For China, however, pressure only strengthens the determination to reduce reliance on foreign technologies. Ironically, what was meant to slow China's progress may instead accelerate it. This is why Russia's offer carries weight. At the Farnborough Air Show, and again through official interviews, Rostec executives stressed their readiness to supply engines to China. Rostec is one of Russia's largest industrial groups, with subsidiaries covering aviation, defense, and advanced manufacturing. Its engine arm, United Engine Corporation, has developed a wide product line, including the PD-8, PD-14, and the PD-35 now under development for long-range wide-body aircraft. The PD-14 is especially noteworthy. It is the first high-thrust turbofan engine fully designed and manufactured in Russia in recent decades. Meeting international technical standards, it already powers the Irkut MC 21-310, a short to medium-haul jetliner positioned against Boeing's 737 and Airbus's A320. In theory, if Washington cut off LEAP 1C deliveries, the PD-14 could be adapted as a substitute for the C919. But the challenge would not be trivial. Airframe integration, regulatory certification, maintenance infrastructure, and pilot training all demand years of work. Still, the Russian option highlights that China is not without alternatives. Yet the most decisive path lies at home. Anticipating supply risks, China has been advancing its own large civil turbofan, the CJ-1000A. Public information shows that the CJ-1000A is designed for about 13 tons of thrust, employs composite fan blades, a digital control system, and achieves fuel efficiency close to the LEAP series. After completing endurance runs on its core, the engine has been mounted on a test aircraft for high-altitude trials. Industry sources suggest that China aims for airworthiness certification before the end of this decade, with mass production targeted a few years thereafter. Progress has accelerated. Aviation Shenyang, responsible for fan blade manufacturing, has already launched capacity expansion projects. Still, developing a commercial engine is a marathon, not a sprint. Thousands of flight test hours, a robust maintenance and spares network, and global certification are all hurdles yet to be cleared. At present, the CJ-1000A has not completed a full certification campaign. But its emergence signals China's determination. No matter the twists in global politics, the C919 will not remain indefinitely hostage to external suppliers. So what do you think? Will Russia truly step in as a reliable partner for China's C919 engine supply? Can China's CJ-1000A reach commercial readiness before sanctions bite again? And more broadly, do such sanctions accelerate the very technological breakthroughs they are meant to block? Leave your thoughts in the comments.